should sales reps be managing projects after they sell it? Should they be involved in getting referrals? What about, getting payments? If the homeowner didn't book on the spot, perhaps it's because they didn't connect with that sales pro, that rep, if you will, and having someone else take over that deal might just have an opportunity for a better connection. It's the asking for the referral that's so important. A lot of business in our industry could do a better job of just asking more frequently and more consistently, and they would have better results. Happy customers will leave you a review only if you ask and make it easy.
Hey, Michael, welcome back again. For those who don't know where you are, this is the Price Sell Paint podcast. I'm John Bryant. This is Michael Murray. We're excited to have you guys here today, where we are going to be talking about what should sales reps be doing outside of selling a job. So I know you and I have talked a lot about this over the years, and I think it's just a fun thing to chat about. What's life like over there for you, Michael, in Cleveland, Ohio? It's probably beautiful, right?
Yeah, welcome to January. Happy New Year. All the things. Yeah, it's freezing cold. It feels like it's Canada right now where we are. So you should be used to that. It's cold.
What do your houses look like, though? Are they mostly ice, made of ice? Or is there what?
Well, here's the thing that's bothersome. It's like last week it was like 58 degrees Fahrenheit in Cleveland for like 2 days. And today it's like 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And I think in like 3 days from now, it's supposed to be like 4 degrees Fahrenheit. So how we managed to do that in a 10-day stretch is pretty impressive, I think. But I think there's a lot of places around the country like that.
Yeah, I mean, here what we get is we get really cold weather. So we had I don't even know what it is in Fahrenheit. Like when you say those things, I'm like,
I know.
It doesn't even sound like real numbers. It sounds made up. But here we have we're off the Rocky Mountains. And so we have Chinooks, they're called. And so it's cold. It gets down to minus 30 Celsius. And then today it's at like 12 degrees Celsius. And that sounds like really great, but there's two things that happen that are kind of sucky. One is that all the hockey rinks, the outdoor hockey rinks, all the ice goes away. It's gone, and that's like all we have. So just now, like crime levels go up, everything goes up because the hockey rinks aren't available.
If you can't fight somebody on the ice rink, you got to fight somebody somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I grew up playing hockey, so I can make those kind of jokes, I think.
so And the second thing is that the pressure level changes so much. So there's people here who get insane headaches like over this time, like migraine central. And so there's so many people that just ask themselves the question of like, why do I live in this place? It's like cold in the winter, or I'm getting migraines and I can't play hockey, or two, in the summer, it's like super windy. So anyways, I don't know.
For somebody who might be, getting a migraine listening to us talk about the weather, I think we should talk. let's dive into this whole like sales experience. I brought up this topic before we started recording, and I find it really interesting because I think there's a wide disparity within our industry. Should sales reps be managing projects after they sell it? Should they be involved in getting referrals? What about, getting payments? How do they deal with unhappy customers? And there's so many little things that sales reps can spend their time on outside of being at an estimate appointment and trying to sell that job. And like, is that the best use of their time? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And I think there's
room for like varying opinions on this topic. But yeah, I think probably most people, whatever company, whatever your philosophy is on this, it might be a good opportunity to just like stop and rethink that. Are we asking people to spend their time on the most productive things that they could be? And even just as importantly, I guess, is this the right person? Is this the best person in our company to be spending time on this? And especially as companies are growing, I think that's going to change a lot.
Yeah. So maybe let's go back to what is your philosophy on what a sales rep should be doing? Because I think it matters, right? Like there's that whole idea of independent contractors versus, team members, full-time employees of the business. And I know that it kind of goes, people fall in different camps. Like there's different silos on this. You can be like an independent contractor where you just get a lead and literally you just try to go sell that lead. and that's all you do. Or on the flip side, you are a part of the team and you have a bunch of responsibilities. Where do you fall, Michael?
I mean, I think that's really interesting. Just to make a comment about what we just said. I mean, some of the biggest home improvement companies in North America, in the window space and roofing space and gutters and things like that, generally operate with like an independent sales rep in the United States. That's like your 1099 sales rep type of a model, where they're pretty much doing what you just said, right? The company does all the marketing, they provide all the leads, they schedule the appointment, that independent sales rep shows up, it's their job to sell that appointment. Oftentimes it's like a one call close, which means they get one opportunity to sell it. I have a friend at a window company, one of the really big ones, but he lives locally here. And he said that if you don't sell it at the appointment, you don't get, that's it. Like somebody else is going to follow up. They're going to have inside salesperson call that homeowner the next day. The sales rep does not have any more contact other than within the window of like, I showed up at your house, I left your house, and that's it. That's not what we do. You can certainly be successful, obviously. I mean, some of these companies I'm describing are in the billions of annual revenue. So that's not to say that it doesn't work. Our sales reps are W-2 employees, and so we ask them to be a little bit more part of the team, if you will. I don't know if that's, we're certainly not in the billions, so I don't know if that's the right approach or not. But I feel like it fits a little bit better with like just how I want to treat people and how I want people to feel like they're a part of something bigger than what they are or whatever.
Yeah, I'd be so curious to know the theory behind that. Like, have you ever talked to this friend about why it works like that?
Why they have like the one call opportunity?
Yeah. What's this, what the story is behind there?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple of things. One, so in the window space, it's very different. I would say probably more sophisticated competition. And like, it's easy to figure out because of all the marketing that's done. I mean, it's massive marketing in those industries. It's easy to find
companies to get competitive quotes from.
Plus, there's a lot of mom and pops and local providers and things like that too. And so I feel like the argument that somebody from that type of a company would make is, if we don't close it on the spot, we're going to have a significant drop off in winning that deal in a follow-up. They're going to go with somebody else because there's a lot of other good options. In the painting industry, it's so fragmented. The size of marketing budgets and stuff are significantly less. It's probably more difficult for homeowners to maybe figure out what those other good options are. I also think there's something to be said for, if the homeowner didn't book on the spot, perhaps it's because they didn't connect with that sales pro, that rep, if you will, and having someone else take over that deal might just have an opportunity for a better connection. Maybe the rep did something wrong. Maybe they didn't offer financing or something that inside salesperson can, kind of figure that out, maybe through some recording software or whatever, and save that deal with a next day follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, all that makes sense. It's interesting to try to dissect it and figure out what works and why it works. We'll go into the rest of our conversation as well, of what should a sales rep be doing. The thing that I wonder about is, for painting specifically, I wonder, compared to say windows, how many people who get a window quote and don't do the job versus painting, where they kind of have no baseline of what it's going to be. They get it, the prices are all over the map, and they get analysis paralysis and don't do it. I wonder if it's lower or higher. They're more, what I'm getting at is it a more urgent decision from a customer? Like, say, an HVAC call, my furnace is out, I got to get a new furnace. And that person, if they can't sell them on the spot, well, someone else is doing that job.
I think that's I think that's where that definition of home service versus home improvement, generally speaking, there are no painting emergencies. Sometimes we create emergencies within our companies, but that's a whole other story. Customers aren't calling us with I need this fixed today. Again, sometimes customers think they do, but it's you're going to be okay.
But that's also how they live their entire life, right? They're just running around being dinner has to get cooked.
Right.
Yes, that happens every day.
Right.
Chill out.
Yeah. I mean, that's garage doors, HVAC, plumbing, electric, those companies, I can see where some of the stuff they do can be more emergency based, right? Again, we're talking at the beginning of the podcast, we're talking about how cold it is. If my heat goes out, I'm kind of going with the first person who shows up and is not, awful. whoever answers the phone kind of a thing. In home improvement, it is more project based. It's more custom solutions. I think, I was going to say it's a little bit more labor driven. I'm not 100%. I'd have to really think through all the different places, but I think that's probably pretty accurate. And to your point, though, there's less of a sense of urgency. I think if I'm getting window quotes, like I don't have to make a decision today.
But they believe you do.
Yeah. And so that's their job. I actually think it is like the reality of the situation is probably not much different than painting. I believe, though, that those window companies do I'll say different job, maybe better. It depends on your work, like your opinion here, but certainly a different job of creating a sense of urgency and a sense of like, I need to make a decision today. I also think they probably do a better job of giving homeowners the information they need to make a decision. Again, a different type of salesperson who's going to thrive in that type of a sales environment. Not to say one's better or worse than the other.
Yeah. So that model, though, of like sales rep going out and then inside sales following up, I don't think that's very common in the painting industry.
I'm sure it exists. I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head of a company that I know of that like does that.
Yeah. So going back to kind of the theme of this podcast, which is what sales reps should do outside of selling. Yeah, I think in both of our worlds, a sales rep is part of the team. They have roles that are important to the entire process of the business.
Yep.
And we don't just ask for them to sell jobs. Now, I am aware of some people that's their theory is that sales reps should just sell jobs. So some of these things won't apply. And I think it's more just the idea of thinking about this, like what falls into that called position vision for this particular role. Like what do they contribute? What are they doing? What's their comp? I think it all ties together. So let me just go through maybe the first one, just to give people the spirit of what we're doing. So in your opinion, things like Google reviews, who should be getting the Google review? Is that a sales function or is that some other functions inside the business?
My opinion, what we do, I think it's production. I think it's post completion or near the end of the completion is the best time. On the last day, we've been working in your home. I also think that people write Google reviews for people, not for custom companies. And I think while sales reps have to build a connection with a homeowner, you're there for an hour and a half. The painting crew and the crew leader has been at their house for a couple of days, couple of weeks, whatever that looks like. You have a different level of a relationship. And so I feel like that's the best person to do that ask. Could be the sales rep. I don't think that's bad. I just think the production team doing it is a little bit better.
I think your best rate for success is the production team for the reason you talked about, which is relationships and people write reviews for people. But I think there's a missed opportunity in what a sales rep can do to get Google reviews.
Okay.
So, and this thinking comes from the fact that like we've had a bunch of, over the years, bad Google reviews for things that are totally abstract and still bring down our review score overall, but they're like somebody swerved in a lane on the road. Bad company. Someone drove too fast. Bad company. Someone didn't return my phone call. Bad company. And it led me to thinking like, well, what can we do that's kind of similar? Like, where should we be getting reviews? And I think that sales reps can get reviews after estimates. So, hey, how did it go today? Did you enjoy the estimate? Would you be able to leave me a 5-star review on my service today? Again, that's person to person. And I think there's like a way to get way more reviews that way than what we think is just a single job. Like they do 20 estimates a week. It's like 20 Google reviews. Like we should be getting 50 reviews a week. And I don't know. That to me is the chance where they can get their service reviewed.
Yeah, and I think the biggest difference there is like you can get a review from somebody you don't necessarily book a job with. Where if you have the production team do it, you're just starting with a smaller pool of people because you're not going to book every estimate.
Yeah, exactly. So start with the biggest. And then it kind of offsets some of that. Like I wish some people would review the company and be like, someone was driving really well, 5 stars. Or like they were at a restaurant and they looked at me nicely, 5 stars. Like where are those reviews? I don't see us getting those.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the problem is, and I don't think I'm the first one to say this, but it's just like the psychology of consumer is if I'm upset, I will take all the effort in the world to figure out a way to tell people about it. If I'm happy, I'm not going to go through a whole lot of friction to tell people about it. And so that's where it's like, who's asking, right? It's the asking for the referral that's so important. And I just think in general, a lot of business in our industry could do a better job of just asking more frequently and more consistently, and they would have better results. The idea that like if people are happy, they're just going to go leave a review isn't true. Like, there's enough studies out there that have been done to show that unhappy customers will leave you a review. Happy customers will leave you a review only if you ask and make it easy. And even then, they still might not.
They might say they'll do it, and then they won't. Right. This guy right here, I'm guilty.
Yeah, I mean, think about how many people are listening right now, and they're starting to enjoy it. They're getting some content out of this, but they're not writing a review for us like they should on Apple or Spotify or whatever, right? Like those people.
Yeah. They go look themselves in the mirror tonight or this morning when they brush their teeth, and they're going to have to look into their own eyes and say, like, I didn't leave that review for those guys.
I don't know how they sleep at night.
Well, no, man. I don't either. Well, let's move on. So one of the concepts I've heard kind of throughout the industry is sales rep sells the job, manages the job. Where do you stand on that?
So yeah, that's a big one. And I think it's almost like you could start here, right? Because I think so at the end of the day, what we're talking about is like, how are we trying to maximize the sales rep's time? And I think it's like, I think we all understand that like the more things they do that aren't just doing quotes, estimates, whatever, means the less time they have to do or quotes and estimates. And so it's like, okay, if it's getting a review, that's not that much time. So that probably doesn't take away much in the vein of doing estimates. You mentioned like 20 estimates a week. Maybe that's the right number. Maybe it's not. Everybody's got different opinions on that. But it's like, that doesn't. But what does take a lot of time away is if you're trying to manage the production team. There are big, successful companies in our industry that have the sales professional sell the job and then manage the team that's producing it. Whether it's subcontractors or employees doesn't really matter, I would say. Slightly, fine, maybe, but like not the point of this conversation. I personally am not a fan of that. And the main reason for it is I just think it's two different skill sets. I think it takes a different type of skill set and personality to go out and sell projects than it does to manage people to produce the work.
Yeah. So where I come from on that opinion is I agree with you. And I think it's a very specialized skill set to sell. And coming back to that, like, saying my dad would ingrained in my brain, just like, he branded it in there was it's easier to do the job than get the job. And I don't believe that's actually true. For those listening, I think the craft that we're in, the trade that we're in, is difficult at times to produce the job. But the point he was trying to make is that getting the job is hypercritical to be able to do the job. I don't often hear people in the middle of winter complain about how hard it is to do a job. Typically, they're complaining about where's the leads, how do I get more work? And that's where we want to be specialized in terms of creating that engine for the company to keep it flowing. We are like, a lot of times we're hand to mouth, kind of, so to speak, in what we do, in that like we need work in 2 weeks. So should you be managing a job? Well, the company needs work in 2 weeks. My argument is no, you should be doing everything you can to get the next job. So anyways, that's my theory. I know we agree on that. I would love, as always, comments. If you feel otherwise, feel free to leave us a comment, message us, because I want to learn a little bit more all the time with this stuff. Like, what's possible out there. I think I've thought of it all, but I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So
I think the part of the argument for why somebody should sell the job and manage it, I think two things come to mind is one, you've already built the relationship with that homeowner, customer, commercial or otherwise, doesn't matter. So like you went out, you built that relationship. They trust you. Like you sold me the job. Like, where did you go? Kind of a thing. And in our model, like the sales rep's kind of gone in a way, right? They're still available. We can talk about that. But somebody else, our field manager, is kind of stepping in and saying, hi, I'm going to oversee the crew leader who's going to really be on site and make sure everything goes well. But if you need anything, I'm here. That's like another person, another point of contact. And it's confusing for homeowners and who do I call when I have an issue? If I could just have that one person who I first met with, who I really liked, that I think I could make the argument it in some ways is better. Maybe it's better for the homeowner or whatever. I also think that's like they know the job, right? I mean, how many problems happen in companies because sales rep promised something, forgot to tell the production team about it. Production team goes out, doesn't do it, homeowner's upset. Where it's like, if that's the same person, that you don't have to take as good a notes. You don't have to relay that information. You don't have to communicate as well. You're the same person. This customer's preferences are X, Y, and Z. No big deal. I'm going to be there on day one as they start the project, and I'll just relay that stuff then. So I can see where some of those arguments can come from.
Yeah, there's definitely a streamlined element. I think as I've seen a company grow, it gets harder and harder to make the time. It's a lot of driving here. It's a lot of, depending on where you live, it can be very consuming to get there, do the handoff. But it's a perfect world. Like I would love to see that happen.
What I think, and again, I think what the problem I see though is that, again, they're two different skill sets. And so that person is going to choose one of those things to really spend their time on, and the other one is going to be neglected, whether it's the sales side or the production management side. Like whichever one they're better at, more comfortable with, and enjoy doing more, they're going to thrive in, and the other one is going to be not as good, as opposed to hiring two different people and letting them specialize, building good communication systems and stuff to make sure that you don't drop the ball. Yeah, again, that's my preference, but I can see the argument.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the next one, invoicing. I think invoicing is an internal function, but I think that sales reps need to get involved sometimes when customers don't pay, or it is maybe they need a gentle reminder after a while that a check-in for payment. I know you think slightly different about this, and I think it's important.
So just so I can understand, so we're talking about like final payment, right? So I go out, I sell a job, and a month later we paint it, and a few weeks go by, customer still hasn't paid, something like that. That's kind of the scenario we're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, hey, office staff, whatever, says to me as a sales rep, hey, Mrs. Smith hasn't paid us. It's been a few weeks. Could you help us out here? Could you help us get the final payment? Mm-hmm. What value am I bringing as the sales rep that like somebody else? Why is the sales rep the best person in that situation? I guess help me understand that.
Yeah. So and this is something that, in our discussions has changed my opinions over the years, which is that the point earlier about relationship, like the sales rep sold the job, they have a relationship. Oftentimes the customer will communicate with them, and we've leveraged that relationship to get paid at times.
Yeah.
It does. One of the negative things though is that it does add negative energy to the day for the sales rep and causes just problems that are on the plate. And that's been challenging. So
that's where I was going to go. And so like, this is my problem with it. Like in general, I can see like, sure, why not? Like, hey, sales reps, I like it. They've got time. They can make a phone call for us. Like, why not? It's not that big of a deal. The problem though, is I think one of the most important things, and this even goes back to managing the production, but one of the most important things for a sales rep is how confident are they in what they're selling? How confident are they in like the crew's ability to deliver just like excellence? Yep. And if you've been doing this stuff long enough, you know that like there's a lot of ways to have small little things on a job, little touch-ups, little whatever that need to get taken care of. Sometimes some customers will take those little things and blow them up into big deals. And they're really difficult to deal with, these types of customers and whatever. When sales reps hear about these things, they can start to lose confidence. Man, look at like we've got 2 touch-ups. This is ridiculous. Like, why do we have any touch-ups? Why is the customer's freaking out? Like there's paint all over their floor. And it's like, no, there's one little tiny dot and like it came up in 10 seconds. But it's like sales reps, they might not have that context of this is a small fix. Just like a homeowner might not, right? They might not realize that, oh, this is a small touch up. Let me grab a brush. I'll take care of this for you right now. I'd be happy to. And so it's like, that can become a problem. And I've seen that become a problem where sales reps, when they start to hear about these things, which again, oftentimes if somebody hasn't paid us, it's because there's a problem. I kind of feel like sometimes I want to protect the sales reps from that. And we might need to just go fix why are we having these problems by all means. But, I also just kind of want to protect the sales rep from that.
It's been a big debate internally of how to handle that. So when there are issues and the customer is no longer communicating, who has the best chance of getting in touch with them? And it's often the sales rep.
That's fair.
Because they're like, you sold it to me, I'm going to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
And it comes to the next point, which is customer complaints, which fall into that similar kind of category, right? Like customer complaints.
I also want to talk about deposit payments too, because that might be another, when you first said invoicing, I think that might be a separate topic too. I've got on the list here, but no. So anyway, so the customer complaints, I would just echo everything I just said. I don't want my sales team involved in customer complaints.
So how do you handle it? Like when there's a he said, she said type situation, how do you handle that?
I want the sales rep communication to ideally flow through like the field manager, right? So if the problem is the customer saying, hey, the sales rep told me you guys would do this, right? They told me that this paint would, whatever, I don't know, like I could pick any color I want and it's like guaranteed coverage in one coat or something. I don't know, whatever some sales rep might do. And it's just like, okay, like that's a problem. I want the field manager to communicate directly with the sales rep. I think there's the field manager and the sales rep should be able to have a conversation that doesn't get too emotional, as opposed to maybe the crew leader who's upset and dealing with this problem right now. And then the field manager can go and have a conversation with the homeowner. So, okay, spoke with the rep, like here's what, they said happened. Because like, to me, I feel like at this point, most homeowners like kind of have their heels dug in and they're not just going to say like, oh yeah, you're right, sales rep. Like you didn't say that. That's been my experience. And so it's just like, I don't know that the sales rep is actually going to be all that impactful in resolving the situation. And it goes back to everything I just said about, confidence and taken away from what maybe they could be doing.
I think it's so interesting to kind of watch the evolution of that over the years, because it's so easy for people to deflect whose problem it is. So it really depends on your company policy. I haven't met too many people that really like going at problems head on. And so they're like, customer's unhappy. Oh shoot, I got to deal with this. Sales rep, what happened? Can you call them? And I think that oftentimes it like flows up to them because they might have the information. So someone can now like pass off the problem. And I like your thinking on it, which is that, and honestly, it took a conversation between us a couple of years ago for me to realize that negative energy has an impact on the sales team. And they're kind of this group that needs to be protected in a way, because they are the ones who have to be confident and bubbly in every type of interaction to sell the service. As soon as they lose that trust and that confidence, everything goes out the window. Yeah, customer complaints, moving that over to production has been a very different thing. And I think it just comes down to just telling them like, hey guys, this is a production problem now. You can call the sales rep, you got to deal with it. And to be lo and behold, they figure it out. So
no, I was going to say, what about like deposits and getting projects ready, like even before we start? My mind goes to like color selection and, different things like that. Post sale, but pre-production.
So I believe that getting the deposit is the sales rep's job.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's a job until you get the deposit. That's we get a deposit on jobs to secure a job. They're licensed to do all that stuff. It's part of our process. And so many people over the years have said, yeah, we're going with you guys. Don't get the deposit. Next thing you know, they found someone cheaper or can do it tomorrow, or it's a friend, and it's not an official thing until you get it. So I think we require sales reps to do that. The rest of the preamble to the job, we believe, is an internal administration function. Okay. So it's typically handled by someone internally who's scheduling and organizing jobs.
Does it make a difference as far as the deposit, whether or not the customer like agrees on the spot versus like on a follow-up or, after the sales rep has left? Does that matter?
In the system we created, no. Obviously you're using PaintScout, so you're getting the deposit on the app.
Yep.
It's quite seamless. It's done usually by credit card. We prefer credit card deposits because it's just now. We get it now. You put your information in. And so no, it really doesn't matter
Okay.
if it's on site or after. It's just, that's the sign that it's now officially a job.
Makes sense. I think that's probably okay. I don't disagree with you that a sale isn't a sale until we have a deposit. Our philosophy is if you sell it on the spot, get the deposit. If you sell it post, we'll have our project coordinator get the deposit. Because for us, once a sale happens, once a customer signs in PaintScout, we have all these automations and whatever, within 24 hours, project coordinator has to call that homeowner, that new customer now, and introduce themselves as their new point of contact to get everything ready until the crew leader becomes their point of contact when they show up at the front door to start the project. And so it's like on that initial phone call is when they're making sure that we have a deposit, right? If the customer hasn't already just like done it automatically or whatever, it's the project coordinator's job to make sure that that happens. I actually think, so this is a thing I think we are going to consider changing this year. Our sales reps earn like commissions on these jobs and things like that, right? When a customer doesn't pay a deposit, it's not surprisingly, they don't earn a commission, right? There's no sale, nothing happened. And so I want our sales reps to care more. And I feel like it's actually going to be going back to the conversation we had, whatever it was, 10 or 15 minutes ago, about like collecting payments after the project, kind of that accounts receivable issue. Similarly, it's the project coordinator's job to get the deposit for like a couple days. If they're not getting it, the sales rep then needs to get it. Because if this goes on for like a week, there's a problem. And we've either already lost the job or we're going to. And so it's like even a week is probably too long. Like I want reps involved in a few days if they don't pay. So I think we're getting closer to what you described.
I mean, we created that deposit feature within PaintScout for that reason, which is that it immediately sends over a sub invoice to the customer. When they accept, it says pay deposit now, and it just goes, they sign and they pay. And it's like, it's very quite seamless. It's pretty cool that way. And I think it's, because to your point, like we view the salesperson as the person who's getting commission, that they have to somewhat be responsible for the money. Like if you sell someone who's not paying, well, we're not paying that commission. And so there's only so far it goes in accounts receivable for the sales reps. Like, I want to get paid on that, I'm calling it.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, PaintScout makes it easy, but there again, I guess what we're talking about is like the people that don't do like that automatic, whatever. Like for whatever reason, there's some percentage of people sign their quote and did not pay a deposit instantly. They want to pay with a check or whatever their thing is. And it's just like, that's where it gets a little wonky. And yeah, I think there's an opportunity.
You guys take a lot of checks these days, like for overall?
I would say it's probably less than half of our total payments, but not like way less than half. So I would say, yeah, like we still take a lot. I mean, we're taking millions of dollars of check payments, which is nuts. I mean, it's like, honestly, I would like us to take a lot more ACH payments. That seems like a super uphill battle. It's just not part of how anybody thinks of like a normal payment option. It's like a way more secure form of a check.
Did you know it's now part of PaintScout payments?
Mm-hmm.
ACH?
Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, people do it all the time. Yeah. We don't have ACH here in Canada, but.
Oh, okay. The problem, it's just, I don't know if it's like a regional thing or whatever, but it's like when somebody's like, we want to pay with a check, and it's like, okay, well, you can just do an ACH payment. It's basically the same thing. What we find is that homeowners are just like, yeah, I don't know really what that is, and I'll just write you a check. And they're like intimidated by it, maybe is the right word. And it's just like, part of my whole philosophy is like, we should make it as easy as all heck to get paid. Like if somebody wants to give us money, make it easy. I don't care. Like if they want to, I don't like getting cash, but it's just like, whatever, we'll take care of it. I actually hate getting cash because somebody's got to go.
Because you keep doing this all the time. And that's
I've got my money gun that you gave me sitting over here. So I just put it in that. Sometimes I throw some real money in there and just go crazy with it. But yeah, so anyways, I don't know. I don't want our sales reps going and getting those checks.
Yeah. To your point is when we introduced credit card payment on the deposit, we take our deposits are like 95% credit card payment, and it happens immediately. It's like boom, boom, done, job booked. So it took away all of that friction of like getting a check and the delays, getting e-transfers is what happens here in Canada. And those can happen very fast, but oftentimes people just, want something else comes up after the sale and they just miss it. And now you're tracking it down. Whereas like the credit card thing it was kind of a game changer for us in terms of getting those payments quickly and sales reps feeling confidence and the job is going ahead. So
colors, I mean, we have an interior designer. It's their job to go help pick out colors. It's not the sales rep's job. The one place that we've actually have had sales reps be involved though, and it's like not much, but it's like it is a thing, and I'll say it out loud, is like when it's a like custom match, or it's like we've gotta get, we're color matching like, something on the house, or like paint chip matching, or match the old paint can. It's like we want the sales reps. It's just like while you're at the house, go find the paint can or with the customer or whatever, and like take some pictures of that, put that in your company cam so that when they book, we have that color information handy so that I can save the interior designer from having to make a trip out there to go take a picture of a paint can or whatever. So it's like the matching as opposed to just like picking off the color deck. That's the stuff that's like doesn't happen often, but we have had reps be a little bit involved with that over the years.
Yeah, same thing on our end. Like it's more of just the manual process of getting the color to get matched. Anytime there's like input on color, we kind of don't want our sales people doing that. It just opens up a lot of risk. We do have a couple of designers, and that helps. Can offer some slight, areas of advice, but it's, ultimately it's about the job, creating the vision for the job, the transformation, and then selling it, getting out of there, moving on to the next one.
So I've got a really big one. We alluded to it at the very beginning of the conversation, and I want to come back to it. And it's follow-ups, right? And so we talked about, these window companies or whatever, other companies that maybe have more of an independent model and it's inside sales like the next day, and they're going to handle all the follow-ups. I think most painting companies that I've ever talked to, the sales rep handles all of the follow-up, whether it's, call me in a couple of days, call me in a week, or it's like, the month-long customer needs more time or they're ghosting us or whatever. It's just like, it's basically what I've seen is once a lead is assigned to a sales rep, that sales rep owns it or no one does. It's just like, it's that sales rep's job to sell it, or it's just not a sale. I don't agree with that. And so, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and then I can maybe jump back in and talk about how we do things.
Yeah. So in our world, I think there's two functions in follow-up. One, there's the immediate follow-up. You do the estimate. Typically people aren't ready on site, although, we do close at a high percentage on site too, because we have the price available, but sometimes they want some time to talk or think it over. Those initial couple follow-ups are part of the sales rep function. But then after that, it does get turned into a marketing function.
Okay.
So we'll take
how long?
Oh man, typically I'd say it's about a month. There's been no response in a month, then it turns into a marketing function, and that falls into a couple buckets. It's like, permission to close out the job is one we've used in the past. So, hey, like this, we have a defined time period on the thing being valid, the estimate being valid. So it's like an email that just says like, you're okay if we close this out, prices may change in the future. Did you want to go ahead? That's kind of one of the emails. And then after that, it's like remarketing on that same type of work.
Yeah, we're now at like it's changed. Like I don't think we have this perfect. It's been probably 2 years conversation, and I think we're like kind of getting closer and closer to I think what I would say is like the permanent system or whatever, permanent-ish. Where right now it's like 2 to 3 weeks. So a sales rep has about 2 weeks post initial estimate to make a sale. Goes back to the conversation about like why the window company loses it after the day. Somebody else needs to try here. So they get the initial stuff, whatever, call me next week type stuff, call me in a couple of days. And then maybe that one, they don't get a hold of them. You still got another few days to a week or whatever. But after 2 weeks, what are we doing? And we allow our reps to put I think our number right now is 10. So they can put 10 opportunities in like a bank And those 10, nobody else is working. So they're basically saying, I have probably some verbal agreement with the homeowner. Hey, we're going out of town for 2 weeks. I'm going to be back. When we get back, I'm signing this job. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. Put that in your bank. You should get credit for that. It makes sense why they haven't booked. It's not your fault. But you can only have 10. So if you've got 10, you got to take something else out. And you probably put that one in a month ago, and whatever you thought was going to happen hasn't happened. It goes back to inside sales role within the company. And that is now the inside sales person's job to be focused on selling it. And my argument for it is, if reps are doing, for us, it's probably about 13 to 15 appointments in a week is pretty normal. I think anything more than 16 or 17, I think they're stretched too thin personally. But let's just say you're doing that many quotes. It's in 2 weeks stretch, you got 30 people. After 2 weeks, you don't have time to talk to the people that you talked to a month ago. And so what's happening is nobody's talking to them. Nobody's following up with them. And I feel like in our industry, there's a lot of value in quotes that you gave a month ago. It takes a long time for some people to make these decisions, budget, and just life gets in the way, and they come back to it or whatever. It's not an emergency like we talked about. And so I want somebody to be focused on actively pursuing those maybe more stale opportunities. That's my whole philosophy on it.
Interesting. What's been the success rate of that?
It's hard, right? I would say, so our inside salesperson sells jobs. And I think it's so my whole argument for it was we would have customers reach out to us a year after they got a quote and say hey, you guys gave me a quote last year. I want to go ahead and get on the schedule. And it's we have some email marketing and we have, I would say a pretty sophisticated marketing function. And so they've heard from us, but nobody's been actively pursuing selling this job, right? They've got a few drip emails over the months or whatever. Where my thought is just how many, if I've got 10 of those a year or whatever, how many would we get if somebody was actively calling that person 6 months afterwards or whatever? And again, that's the inside sales rep's job. And so, yeah, it has worked. It's turned into a requote opportunity quite often. It's turned into, I actually had somebody else do that work. It's 6 months later, I had somebody else do that work, but I have another project. Why don't we send somebody else out? Where I think oftentimes sales reps are just yeah, that one's dead. It was a bad lead. I don't know. They weren't serious about it. And it's just you're just saying that because you never got a hold of them and you're sick of calling them.
With the inside sales, do you work it in a way where that person's calling, or do they email, they text? How does the conversation start?
Mostly calls. It's a calls, okay. Call first and text and email.
So so get them on the phone. That person's just calling all past estimates over 2 weeks old and just kind of cycling through that. Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
And so they're not going on appointments, right? So they just have more time. So that appointment that's 2 months old, or that opportunity, I should say, that's 2 months old, is not, insignificant to them. Where for the estimator or sales rep or whatever, it is. I'm going to go focus on the ones I have today, not the ones I did 2 months ago. I see that argument, but my thing is just doesn't mean there's no value there.
Right. Yeah. As a business, there's a lot of value there. Interesting. Cool. Well, Michael, that's probably a good way to end things.
I like it.
We started with that and we ended with that. So it's a sandwich now. So that's great.
That's because we plan things out so well in advance. We spend a lot of time practicing this, and
we've lived it, right? So well done. Congratulations to us, guys. If you enjoy the podcast, feel free to give it a like, subscribe. We've had a few great messages, just people messaging us through LinkedIn. Feel free to keep doing that. We love those messages. Helps us stay connected to you guys and make sure that we're answering the questions that you have. So yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in, Michael. As always, a pleasure. And we'll see you next time on the Price Tag Paint podcast. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.